Evening, one and all. My name is Marina Fernandez. I'm the operations head at the Student Alumni Committee. Before we begin with our panelists, I would like to introduce you to the Student Alumni Committee of FRCRC and give you a little detail about the event tonight and what is in store throughout. The Student Alumni Committee was formed as a body under the umbrella of the Alumni Association of FRCRC to better coordinate with the CRC alums across the world and showcase their incredible achievements in their multitude of fields. The Alumni Association of FRCRC is made up of our dynamic alums and the alums who are our faculty members of the college, with the objective being to serve as a bridge between the existing students and the thousands of alumni world over. We wish to do this by organizing interactive sessions, webinars, and connecting our existing students to the talents of the alumni so that they can benefit from these experiences. Moving on to the event for tonight, the event will be in a form of a panel discussion with our own esteemed alumni as panelists. The discussion will revolve around our main topic for this evening, which is about entrepreneurship and how to explore your startup dream. Our panelists are highly knowledgeable about the subject, having gone through the process themselves and emerged successful. Tonight, they shall have a discussion which will be moderated and guided by the frequently asked questions from our students, and our panelists will try to answer some of the doubts regarding the idea, planning, investments, opportunities, and execution of startup plans. We have Saili Podar as our moderator for today's session. So over to you, Saili.
Thank you so much, Marina. Good evening, students, teachers, and alumni of FRCRCE. A very warm welcome to today's panel discussion, which is on startups from planning to execution. Just to get a feel of the audience present here today, I would request you guys to just type in the chat box which year and which branch are you from. And if you guys are alumni, do type in what city you're logging in from today and which is the year that you passed out from, so that today's panelists and me can get a feel of who is the audience present here today. So again, let me request everyone to just type in the chat box which year and branch are you from. And if you are an alumni, just type in your city of current city of residence and the year that you passed out from FRCRC. Great to see you here, ma'am, Prachi ma'am. Second year computer, batch of 2020 Mumbai. Hi, Saumil. Third year computers. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, guys, for typing in, and it is good to see you all here. May I just request you all again to keep your audios and videos on mute so that there's no disturbance during the panel discussion. Any question that you have during the panel discussion, you can type it in the chat box, and we will take up the questions as and when or at the end of the discussion is over. Uh, so Indeed, that the pandemic has brought us all together online, and it is amazing that we can tune in from anywhere around the world. So it is great to see that. Let me introduce myself. My name is Saili Poddar, and I will be the moderator of the discussion today. I am an alumni of FRCRC myself, the electronics batch of 2012, and then the alumni of University of Texas at Dallas, after which I worked in the semiconductor industry for 5 years before moving on to my current creative venture called as the Tipsy Canvas, through which I organize art-based events for corporate team building and employee engagement. Let's get to know a little bit more about our speakers today. Let me start with Girish sir. Girish Patra, he is a high energy leadership coach, mentor, and advisor to entrepreneurs. In his 25 years of corporate experience prior to his current roles, he acquired expertise in areas of product management, business development, and team building, where he led teams to deliver sustainable growth with MNCs and Indian companies. Girish was also the co founder of an innovative startup in real estate. He is a trained design thinking practitioner. He speaks at various leadership forums and prestigious B schools. He has even authored a book called Experiments in Leadership. Girish, sir, so excited to learn more from you today.
Thank you,
Our
sir. Thank you for this opportunity.
Our next speaker is Parag Doshi. Parag is an alumni from electronics from the batch 1992. He has earned his master's in computer science from University of Houston, Texas in 1995. Uh, he has his professional career started in a startup company called Aerosmith Technologies in Austin, Texas. And as per him, the biggest learning and strong foundation in terms of technology as well as business has come from his 2.5 years in this particular startup. After working for a few years in different MNCs, he co-founded Savix Softex and later Chinoa. Parag sir, you are a serial entrepreneur, and I'm sure the audience will have a lot of takeaways from you today.
Thanks,
Last
Prachi.
but
Thanks, Siley.
last but not the least, let me introduce the young and dynamic Subhash Bishnoi. He's the co-founder of Kitabelly, one of the fastest growing social e-commerce in Indonesia. He has been in the startup ecosystem since the past 4 years. His expertise lies in building and developing products and then reiterating them until they fit the market. Two of his startups got acquired, and now he's on to his third one. That's so amazing, Subhash.
Thank you. Hey guys.
So thank you so much again, Subhash, Parag sir, and Girish sir for joining us today, and thank you so much for taking out your time. So, guys, we have a lot of questions today and very less time to talk about it. But before beginning, let me put a little art to this startup. So, just so you guys can visualize yourself in the journey that the three entrepreneurs will be sharing with us today. So, what I want to make you all do something which will make a real difference, and it will make it feel like it is your own journey. So whoever is watching here today, just grab a small piece of paper and pen, and just whatever idea that you have in your head about a startup that you wish to start, just draw up that product or service onto that piece of paper. And if you already have a little bit of things working, just draw one step ahead. Maybe draw something about how you plan to scale your startup. Or if you don't have any idea right now, why don't you just try doodling one problem you think that you can solve in this world right now? So just try to figure out that one change that you would like to bring. And once you have something like this on paper, the discussion today with I'm sure will have a whole other meaning for you guys, and you can actually visualize yourselves as startup founders and take nuggets from all of these speakers. So with that note, let me start. And the first speaker I want to bring in today is Girish sir. So I think I can hear some echo. So I request everyone to mute themselves. Okay. Girish sir, you are a business coach and a design thinking practitioner. So I would love to know more from you how to actually solidify the concept that you have, and what are the steps that we need to take in order to understand if our business even has a need in the market or no.
Yeah, I'll surely answer that question, Siley. In fact, I had a small idea for the group. There are around 44 folks. I'm assuming there are around 10, 12 alumni, and the rest are current students. So I would request everyone who's hearing us, whoever of you is even 50% sure that you want to become an entrepreneur, just raise your hand. We won't be able to see you, but just click a selfie and share it with your team, your WhatsApp group, your faculty, and ensure it reaches the principal. Because our objective of doing this is putting the seed of creating some entrepreneurship support system in CRCE. CRCE is my alumni, and I'm very keen to ensure that the support system supports future entrepreneurs, and like our friend Subhash, we have future Subhashes in this group, and they need support. And I've seen other institutions support. So we have a call with your faculty also, but let's understand how big is the audience to create that support system. Yeah. So coming to Saili's question, Saili was asking about where to start, and Saili mentioned about drawing your idea, yeah, and on a paper. So I in fact want to take you 2 steps back and don't draw your idea, draw the problem you want to solve, and hope and work hard to understand the problem. So that's where design thinking starts from. Design thinking starts from empathy with your customer to understand the problem. There's no solution to start with. And that's what mistakes startup founders make. They start with solutions. And the biggest reason for startup failure, if you look at the CB Insights survey, is no market need. 43% startup failed because what they created, they loved their idea. They believed it's the best idea in the world. But unfortunately, the problem wasn't so large or so painful that people would pay to solve that problem. So start with the problem is what I would recommend the people who are thinking of getting into the entrepreneurship journey. Like start from the problem and understand the problem and use the design thinking steps. Design thinking is such a wonderful tool and it's easy to learn. You can learn design thinking in a week's time. Follow the steps of design thinking to let the solution evolve from the problem. So don't draw the idea. Saili's homework, what she's given you, draw the problem and see how big, how hairy, how audacious it is, how painful it is for demanding a solution. Is my simple comment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Girish sir. I would request everyone to just Google up what is design thinking, and you guys will get a very different perspective of how to solidify your concept. And so, Subhash sir, my next question is to you. After we have a solid concept in our hand, the next step that we need to think about is the mindset, right? So how do we even determine if we are capable of starting our own business? So what kind of a mindset do you think an entrepreneur should start with, and what kind of early resources are available out there? And if you can throw some light on that.
The question is for Parag, Saili, right?
Yes, Parag. Sorry. Yes, the question is for Parag, sir. Yes.
Thanks, Saili. First and foremost, I would really want to thank the initiative taken by the alumni. This is a very unique idea and very good to see that you are seeing so much participation. Being an alumni, I would second Girish's thought that we need to bring in the level of creativity that engineers are capable of, not just in terms of solving problem, but being an entrepreneur. So I wholeheartedly support what Girish says, and we would like to see maximum people get the right guidance, right nurturing to be able to become the next entrepreneurs and do proud to their alumni. To your question, Saili, in terms of what does it take? You need to, it starts with yourself as an individual, right? First and foremost, believe in yourself and your idea. And that is what will be, a first starting step. If I have to go the next in terms of thinking is keep an open mind. We all as individuals and secondly as engineers always think that we have the best idea and solutions, but keep an open mind, and as you venture out, you will get a lot of feedback. Some of those things may not be the right ones, but keep an open mind to listen to feedback and try to adapt your ideas, your product or services towards those feedback. The third most important part, which I feel engineers are, so-called psychologically told as, being introverts. So that is a thing that you need to really get out. You need to really keep networking. Networking is a key, not just from your own learning perspective, but you need to really network to find individuals with the like mind to build a team. You need to network to reach out to customers. And last but not the least, network to get the funding as and when you reach that stage. Another important part that I would like to add is entrepreneurship. You need to be patient. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. is not a sprint. Or in the cricket parlance, if I have to say, stay on the pitch and the runs will come by soon.
Thank you so much, Parag sir. Open mind, feedback, networking, and patience are his 4 key nuggets from him to everyone. Thank you so much for sharing. Subhash, my next question is to you. Moving on to the next stage, I want to talk to you about forming our first team, that is the co-founders. So can you tell us what's the right way to, build your first team, and what sort of a relationship dynamic should co-founders share with each other?
So so I'll start off with what Parag sir left with. So in my view, it's not a marathon, it's your life. So it'll stay with you for your entire life. So keep pushing yourself and don't give up. That's one thing. Number 2, for your team. So you need to understand that this team will stick with you from good times to bad times to worse times. So every startup has this cycle, has this graph. It's never a trajectory. It never goes up. It'll always be very down, down, down. It'll go up. Then suddenly, after a few days, it'll go very down. And then if the team is not correct, it'll stay down. But if you choose the right people to work with, then it will be correct. So a lot of people make that mistake that your co-founder should be someone who is very close to you. No, it does not have to be. So your co-founder does not have to be your best friend. Dosti mein, you cannot make a startup. So your co-founder can be a person who you did not even talk to for, like, you did not even know that person. And after connecting, like Parag sir said, like by networking, you find one person who complements your skills. And that person is the right person for you, because you cannot have 2 engineers. You need one person who will speak. You need one person who will design the product. You need one person who will build that product. So all these things come into picture. It's not 2 like-minded people. It has to be like-minded people in thought, but when they build the product, then it has to be complementary skills. For example, if you take our team, Kitabili's team, then 2 of us are engineers who build products. One a client, one takes care of the client, I take care of the backend. Ivana, our third co-founder, takes care of all the ops requirements. Prateek takes care of our CEO takes care of all the product related and investment part. So that's how we contribute to the team. So you need contributors. You do not need people who are just there for the sake of starting business. So that's my answer to that.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Subhash. Girish sir, coming back to you, the toughest hurdle that a startup goes through generally is finding investors and raising funds. So can you share a little from your experience? When is the right time to go for it, and what are the steps that an entrepreneur needs to prepare even before approaching an investor?
Yeah, so the good news is that the ecosystem in India is quite mature as compared to any ecosystem in the world. We've got this ecosystem of investors, mentors, incubators, accelerators created in the last 10, 15 years to support startups at various stages in their journey. So that's the good news for anyone who wants, he's not alone in this journey. Now, in fact, my organization, Jumpstrat, we support startups who want to raise funds, but for that, the timing is very critical. So if you have an idea and you are expecting funds, you won't have too many investors or institutions who want to invest in an idea stage startup. So what is expected is, while you are in idea stage, you understood the problem, you got an idea to solve that problem, you built a raw product to solve that problem. You're supposed to experiment with your own money, friends, family, or your first level of, you might get some angels also in that, networking you do in the forums available like TIE, and there are so many forums available, NASCOM forums available, where you network and find such angels who know the space and know and have a trust that you will be the right person to solve that problem with your idea. So that network will help you to raise that early money from these angels. Once you have a early idea which is gaining traction, then you attract investors. That's the time to reach out to the investment firms, VCs, PEs, who invest into startups, and then it's your takeoff phase. Basically, VCs, PEs want to take limited risk, and if a startup is in the idea stage, the risk is very high. So they want to give you money to scale, not to experiment with. So their money, the biggest investor money, is available to scale from one market to another market, from India to internationally. Good money is available. In fact, you don't need to invest too much money. Your initial investment, which could be a few lakhs only, and that also forces you to stay frugal. The good news is that because I'm investing my own money or my friend's family money, I'll be frugal in whatever actions I take. I won't have a big office, have a big team, and then I realize, no, there's no market need for my problem. So that's the idea. Get into that stage where you have a product which is getting traction, and then investor money is enough available. In fact, more than enough available, I'll say, for the idea.
So just to add on to what Grisha said, like Grisha said that there's always good money, right? So in my opinion, there's dumb money and there's smart money as well. So a lot of people will just give you money, and investments, most of the time, investments are not always about money. They are about connections and the experience that the investor brings in. Because a lot of young co-founders or people who start, they do not know what to do with the money, right? Now, if you get the money, like how do you spend it? So now this is where a lot of investors come in, or the angel investors come in, because they will teach you how you should spend your money, and then they'll teach you how you should, like what path should you take. So that is one of the reasons that you should choose your investors correctly as well. If you have a good idea, there are a lot of people who will be ready to invest in you. Now, the challenge comes that you have to choose who you want to take money from. You cannot just take money from anyone. So in that way, you have to be careful.
So then how do you decide that? How do you decide who's the right person?
Okay, so for our example, I'll take Kitabeli's example. So for us, a really good seed investor or a really good angel investor would be someone who has already worked in the e-commerce industry, right? Okay. Because when he brings in money, even though it's a small amount, say $50,000, but with that, he brings in a lot of connections. He brings in a lot of people who have already worked in this sector. We do not know a lot about operations, right? Now, if that investor can connect me to 5 good people who knows a lot about operations, then my half of the problems are solved, correct? Even though he only invested 50,000, his investment is way more than someone who would invest 100,000 and not give any piece of advice to me. That's how you basically choose your early investors. After that, then you can go to VCs and like Grisha mentioned about other investors.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for adding on, Subhash, and thank you for your answer as well, Girish sir. So moving on to Parag sir, again, let us talk a little bit more on the finances. So, in a successful startup, along with doing things that we love doing, we also need to do things that we hate doing. So for me personally also, it is managing finances. So what do you think, how important is it for a founder to know monthly cash flow analysis, and how much does a founder need to know about managing cash?
Certainly. I think as much as we talk about startups, we talk about technology, at the back of everybody's mind is to say, how do I really make a profitable business out of it? And keeping that in mind, understanding financial statement is as important, if not more important, than your technology and execution. With the end goal in mind, in terms of what you're going to do with your startup idea, whether you're going to scale up, you're going to sell it out, those become very critical. You should keep a very close eye on what is your spend on a monthly and quarterly basis. Your spend includes everything that is required to run your activities. When do you expect to get your revenues or payments? If these things are not monitored closely, keeping the venture running may become unsustainable, and you will have an unhappy team, because at the end of the day, people work for you to keep them going. On the flip side, assuming your business or idea starts generating revenue and you got excess cash that is accumulated, even that is a problem that needs to be carefully maneuvered. You don't want to invest in things, or I should say, you should invest in the right things. It will be technology, getting the right people on board, or into processes that helps you scale. So knowing and understanding financial part of it may not be the whole side of balance sheet, but like you use the word cash flow, what is coming in, what is going out, and how much do I need to sustain in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 year is very critical in my opinion.
Okay, yes, absolutely. So discussing the current situation, Subhash, we are right now in a situation where I mean, we were locked down for so many months, and we are like, how do you think starting up is in the COVID-19 situation, and what is your message to the students in this time of uncertainty, whether it is the right time or no to start up a new company at this point of time?
So, Saili, the time will always be uncertain. There is no certain time to start a startup. There's no right time to start a company. So it's like, if you start your business at the age at what the founder of KFC did, then you'll get rich at the age of KFC, right? 60 पे चालू करोगे तो 60 पे ही अमीर बनोगे. It's as simple as that. So the current time is the right time, and COVID, as much as it has hurt us, it has created a lot of opportunities for the young engineers, because it has created problems that never even existed, right? You did not have to worry about social distancing, or you did not have to worry about wearing a mask, or you never ordered your groceries on WhatsApp and got it delivered to your doorstep without any contact, right? So these are all possible because of this pandemic. Like, who would have thought that a vaccine would come in 1 year, right? So this is technological innovation. So tough times force you to adapt, and these are the times when a lot of good startups come up. Even like if you go back a few years, then you heard about Airbnb and Uber, right? So Airbnb started out at 2000, like at the time of Great Depression, right? 2008, the housing crisis. So a housing startup starting after a housing crisis. See, that's the biggest take from that. That every time there's a crisis, there will be opportunities, and you have to be quick to grab those opportunities.
Absolutely. So there is a question from the audience which is based on similar lines. So there is Taran Rajpal who is asking, starting something based on the demand around the world, is that a good option? For example, a lot of businesses started to make medicines and PPE kits because there was high demand of it in the world and made a fortune. So he's asking if starting something based on the demand is a good option. So I think.
Yeah. So in my opinion, there are two ways of starting a company or a business, right? You first build the product and then get the customer base, or you first analyze your customer base and based on that you build the product. So this example is a prime example of the second case. So in these situations, this is how you create a company. Yeah, that's the exact way you should do it. But the thing is that so they made a fortune right now. The thing is that they have to scale it, because this pandemic will get over, right? These PPE kit won't be selling forever. Now, if he can channelize that money and make the company or product a little more diverse, then it's a good use. Otherwise, जितनी जल्दी आया था उतनी जल्दी जाएगा. It's as simple as that. It has taken a spike, right? It has spiked. Now it will fall. Now, how the co-founders figure that out is up to them, and then like that is the challenge that they will be faced with in, I think, 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Once everything settles down.
Parag and Girish, sir, do you have anything to add on to this question?
Yeah, I felt that, I really agree with Subhash's point that COVID has offered so many long-term opportunities, because we've got one pandemic and people have understood the value of economics, they've understood the value of social distancing and spending. So you should be asking the critical question, am I the right person to solve problems in this space? There'll be short-term problems, long-term problems, because for a business, the timing is as critical as the problem you are solving. Because there's so many businesses who are opportunistic and started for the short term, but they didn't exist because they were not solving a long-term problem. So the timing of your problem which you're solving is as critical as the problem you're solving. Just ask those questions. Otherwise, it will be a short-term temporary business you're creating.
Okay. Awesome. So, audience, I request you all to, if you guys have any more questions, just type it in the chat box, and we will take
They
it
can
up
even
one by
unmute and
one.
ask us, Sahil. They can even unmute and ask if the chat box is a challenge. Yeah, it'll be
Okay,
as
sure. ठीक है. So meanwhile, while we get some questions from the audience, I just have one question, open question for the three of y'all, and anyone can answer. So what is the biggest, what are some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make, and how to, stay wary from making those mistakes?
yeah. I've studied a lot of entrepreneurs, both Indian and abroad, and the one big thing is not losing your emotional balance in the high highs and low lows, because entrepreneurship will give you a lot of high highs and low lows, and you should be having that sustenance power, that emotional strength to manage these high highs and high lows, because entrepreneurship full of them versus a job which is there'll be limited high highs and low lows. So if as an entrepreneur, if you're able to manage that, you've arrived. And a lot of actors, a lot of cricketers also face these high highs and low lows, and they're able to manage that and still continue performing.
Okay. So there is one question. Okay, yeah, Parag sir, go ahead.
Another thing, Sahil, I would also like to add to what Girish said. I think Girish has he put it very well in terms of entrepreneurship. Almost every day you will feel in the morning you will feel a high to start a day. At the end of the day you will feel like let me give it up. There'll never be a time. There'll never be a day literally in terms of the first few years where you will feel मैं क्यों चालू किया है. And having said that, I think the other thing that I will also say is learning wise, mistakes that I have seen people make, or some things that I have made, is not able to adapt. When you are on a journey, when you are on a particular roadmap of a product or service, changing and adapting the market conditions. Right? I mean, giving an example of the PPE. Right? I've got if I was into manufacturing and I did not took the advantage of a PPE need to adapt to what the needs are. Right? I mean, you may have heard of Mahindra saying we'll make ventilators in our factories. Right? Those are things that entrepreneurs should keep in mind in terms of adapting to the situation of the market or tailoring their product and services to what the needs are.
Makes sense. Subhash, do you have anything to add on to this question?
Yeah, so I think a lot of co-founders or early starters fall into this trap of hiring quick, like that. It is a very slow process. So you have to realize that it is a very slow process, and the teammates that you choose to work with will make or break your startup. It's as simple as that. So I think, in my opinion, your team is even more important than your idea itself. Because if that idea did not work today, then if your team is good, you are able to pivot. If your team is not good, then it will break under that, it will crumble under that pressure. That's one thing that is very, very important for a early stage startup. Also, if there are, like Girish sir said, right, there are high highs and low lows. Now, during low lows, who will handle you? It is your teammates, right? It is your teammates who won't let you fall. They will help you move forward, and they won't let you fall. So that's the thing that you should very carefully pick. Like, you should very carefully choose your core team.
Okay. So we have one question.
I'd just like to add one point to what Subhash said, right? In terms of the team also, right? One more thing that sometimes we end up doing is we get emotional about people that we hire. And are not able to take a call on a person who may not be able to really be in sync with your goals, or maybe a low performer. In different ways. It may not be competence, it could be behaviors, it could be other things. So, letting go of somebody who is not going to add to your long-term vision. Sometimes we get emotional and don't take that decision. So that's another thing that we should possibly also keep in mind.
Okay. So Rahul Panchal has a question. What are your views on startups about services? So Rahul, can you elaborate a little bit on the question? And we'll come back to it later. And meanwhile, Prachi ma'am has a question. Why should someone prefer entrepreneurship than taking up a job? And what are the pros and cons of entrepreneurship versus a job?
you should always take up a startup. It's like it does not have to be no, it does not have it does not have to be like you have to start your startup. Okay, so you can join a startup. People have this misconception that a startup is their startup if they start it. No, no. So if you already join a startup which is 3 years old, you can still call that startup your own. So that's how the startup industry works, because it's a very small, tightly knit industry. So if you join a startup, then it becomes your startup. So join a startup. So the growth there is very exponential. I understand that there will be a lot of risk, and you would be taking a substantial amount of risk, and the working hours would be very tight. But after a year or two, you will yourself realize that the growth that you've seen is exponential rather than a flat curve or a normal 45-degree line. So that's one thing that you should keep in mind. Also, at this age, I don't think you should be looking to join a MNC or a corporation, because MNCs are built in such a way that they should be efficient. So they have processes laid out from first day to the last day, for from first thing to the last thing. So if you get stuck in one process, you are spending 2 years of your life doing that process again and again and again and again. You will never get to learn new things. You will never get out of that, what you say, that comfortable zone that you get into. Then switching to a startup or a different company becomes very difficult, because for the 2 years you've been doing that one same cyclic thing again and again, rather than learning new things that your peers have been doing, right? That's, I think, one thing that you should think about when you are taking up a job or joining a startup. And I think there are no cons in joining a startup, because if you see my career, then if you stop at any given point, then my risk versus reward is very high at any point of time, after 1 year of job, 2 year, 3 year, 3.5, 4 years.
Okay. So I'm going to take up another question. Most startups focus get diverted and demotivated with time, and how to counter that issue.
Yeah, so we mentioned about that. See, the world is changing, and you have to change with times. You shouldn't fall in love with the idea or what you are trying to solve. You should be easily pivotable, and that's the beauty of a startup. A large company finds it tough to change its product or service, or because it's all so aligned. Versus a startup who's small size, they can easily adapt to the situation and give the solution which the market needs today, instead of getting the baggage of the past. So that's the beauty. And startups who get tired in their journey is people who are not able to adapt quickly to the changing customer needs. And customer needs, pace of customer needs changing is faster month by month, week by week. And COVID has in fact accelerated the pace of change and the pace of needs, changing needs of the customer. It's in fact accelerated it. And therefore it's fun to be in the startup world. I agree with Subhashni. No second thoughts, and more people are getting the taste. Mother, it's like once you taste blood, you won't want vegetarian food as a tiger. So that's the beauty of working in the startup world. Once you taste blood, you want to be in this space only.
Yeah.
And to
If I have to
add
add
on
to what
to what,
Subhash and sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
Parag sir.
what Subhash and Girish mentioned, right?
Yeah.
If you join a startup, right, you will have accumulated enough skills that even if you feel, I wouldn't use the word tired, but even if you feel that that's enough of it, you don't have a problem of getting a job in any of the big companies.
exactly.
Absolutely, confident that you will be able to clear whatever is thrown at you.
Okay.
So, always take a risk early on, and I would add the word, fail early on to learn more.
Exactly, like क्या ही होगा, बीवी बच्चे तो है नहीं, like किसको संभालना है? You have to take care of yourself, right? That you can do. So, and add on to what Girish sir said, even we pivoted. Like after 2 months, we realized that okay, this solution won't work, and we saw that okay, COVID is coming. Let's pivot. We were into fashion and everything. We said no, it won't work. Even though the margins were very high in fashion industry, we said that okay, we'll take up FMCG and essential items, which provides basically very less margin. But we'll do it. We'll pivot it, and we started doing it. See, so that's how you have to adapt. And what she said, that most of the people get demotivated. You won't get demotivated if you keep on looking at the data. You have to be data driven. Your ideas have to be data driven. Your features have to be data driven. Like you cannot say that, okay, you wake up in the morning and say that, okay, let's build this thing today. No, it does not work like that. You wake up in the morning, you check the user behavior and see that, okay, a lot of users are falling at the checkout flow. Why? Because they have to click 2 more times. Now reduce that 1 click. That's how you proceed. If you do it like that, then you won't get bored because you see results of every action that you take. And results are what fires an entrepreneur. If you don't see result, you get demotivated, obviously. If you want to see the result, you have to take the right approach to it.
So in short, startups prepare you for the world and
Yes.
so Rahul Panchal has asked a question and he wants to know a bit about service-based startups. So because he says that services are now and they're always on demand as compared to say products which and need-based products which can vary. The demand might vary here and there, but services are always on demand, he says. So what are your views on that? And maybe Parag sir, since you are you run a service-based company. Would you like to take up this question?
It is a good thought in terms of starting services because I can tell about the journey of Cheno as well. That when we started back in 2004, it was all about web. Using the web and the LAMP and all those technologies. And with the proliferation of technology that happened over the years, right? You had constant innovation and a reason to learn new things and offer them to your clients. And with the advent of cloud and mobility, there are still so many things that you can do with the same client to show them the roadmap using the new IT services that are available. Whether it is increasing the productivity, increasing the efficiency, or it's reducing your cost. There is constant need for companies and things to change. I mean, the pandemic has actually been an eye opener for a lot of these companies where they never thought that they actually could work from home and get things done.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole services itself has created such an opportunity to be able to enable these people. And I think going forward, I do see that this is not going to really, I don't see an end to it in terms of services because technology is an ever increasing and ever changing horizon.
Absolutely. I hope you got your answer, Rahul. So there is one question which says, being an entrepreneur as it's a tough and long journey. What type of a support system do we need to help us through the journey? What is the role of family, friends, and professors in this journey?
Yeah, I'll try and answer that. But as far as I am concerned, it's your resilience. It's your what should I call anti-fragile nature, which will take you through the entrepreneurship journey. Your resilience and perseverance will take you rather than families, friends. In fact, they will demotivate you at times. They'll in fact tell you, "Bola tha na, mat karna." Matlab, the reverse. So it's your resilience, your perseverance, and your anti-fragileness which will take you through this journey versus the outside world, as I see it.
Absolutely.
And to add on to that, like they do matter actually. It's not that they do not matter at all. But if you have good friends, like there will be people who say like that, कि भाई मत कर, क्यों कर रहा है, पागल हो गया. But then there will be friends who will say that, okay भाई तू कर, कुछ नहीं होगा तो मेरे कंपनी में रेफरल ले लेना. See, there are both kind of people and they do help you a lot. I don't know much about the professors, but family, friends, they do help.
And
So,
as Subhash said
surround yourself,
before, the co-founders also make a lot of difference in keeping
exactly,
you motivated and
so they become your friend in the journey. And then, correct.
Yeah.
So it is very important to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah. So Omkar Rani has asked, what are your thoughts on startup incubators?
Yeah, so because I work with them, I'll answer that. See, there are, as I said, the ecosystem has evolved in India. So in fact, my other alma mater, NMIMS, has an Atal Incubation Center inside it, and people are joining it. So they are wonderful as long as you know what to use and what to reject. Because I know startups who got so many different ideas that end of the day, entrepreneur said, yeah, my original was lost. I got so many divergent views from mentors, other sources. So as long as you know what to use, what to reject, these are lovely ecosystems to network with, to find people similar to you who are solving similar problems, and kind of at times join hands, because early stage startups need a lot of support from and they can provide contacts, they can provide even initial funding in terms of grants to ensure that you have that initial money to test your idea. So they are wonderful to explore and join. So just do your research. In fact, Subhash is working with Y Combinator. It's one of the world's best incubators, accelerator programs. A lot of people apply to it. So the Indian ecosystem has also evolved, if not equal, but quite close to the global ecosystem, I'll say.
Okay, thank you so much, Girish sir. So now, guys, we have maybe say last 1 or 2 questions. If you guys have, then we can take that up. And meanwhile, while you guys type those questions in, let me quickly ask Subhash, like, how do you think Father Agnel has prepared you for entrepreneurship?
So okay. So during when I was in college, there was not a lot of initiatives that were there to support, because everyone wanted to either go to US or get a job in Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, right? No one wanted to join a small company. So this is where I started from, right? But I had a lot of friends who were very competitive. Even though so in my class there were students with 9-pointers who were preparing for CAT and GRE, right? And I was a 7-pointer guy. So I had to like look at them and see if they are working that hard, then I have to do a lot more than what they are doing to even compete with them. So after graduation, I spent 2 to 3 months at home waiting for the call letter from TCS and Accenture. I gave up on that and then said, okay, I have 2 days. I applied on AngelList. I applied to 50 different startups. A few replied me back. I look at their team, and when I looked at the team, that is when I decided that yes, this is what I wanted to do. So the team that I picked, it consisted of people from IITs. It consisted of people who had worked with ISRO, then big banks, and they had left all their job and then they were building this startup. That is the kind of people I wanted to work with. I gave the interview. They asked me, when can you join? I said tomorrow. They called me tomorrow, and the next day I started working. So that's the difference between an MNC and a startup, right? You gave the interview and you joined the next day. And the interview on TCS and Accenture, they were given 6 months back. They make you wait for 2 to 3 months. And then even after giving you the job, most of the time you'll be on the bench. So choose carefully what you get yourself into. It's better to take risk now than to regret not taking risk later. Okay. Fail early, be successful early. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So Prachi ma'am is asking how to tap opportunities in the international market. Anybody who would like to take this question?
Yeah, okay, I'll take this because my startup is in Indonesia. So it depends upon if you can get a local co-founder or not. So it's about reading the market. It's about understanding the market. If you want to expand to an international market, then if you want to expand to the international market, then you will have to understand that market first, right? If you do not know how that market works, then expanding into that market would be a foolish thing to do. So first, you have to study that market. Second, you have to get a local co-founder if you want to do business internationally, because of laws and because of the geography and the language and all those things. They would understand their country better than anyone else. And then you can divide the responsibilities and keep working towards the product. Product is the main thing. You have to build the product that will suit that particular geography and that demography.
Okay. So I'll not be taking any more questions. So you guys just note down the names of our panelists today, and you guys can reach out to them on LinkedIn or any other social media. And I'm sure they will be very happy to help you all with any other questions that you guys have. And so with that note, I would like to say that, great companies start because the founders want to change the world. And I'm sure the three of you have inspired a lot of students today. And I hope everyone in the audience today has taken a lot of notes and visualized their startup journey from start to end. For the final vote of thanks, let me invite Cyril.
Before that, can I answer this question?
Yeah, sure, sure.
What according to you
Yes.
is the perfect time to bring in investors. So
Yes.
always remember that every investor is a different investor, and you cannot bring in an investor at your own will. So when you okay, so there's one saying that Pratik says that have you ever had a breakup? Like, yes, breakups are bad, but breakups are hard. But raising money is even harder. So it's not that easy to bring in investors, number one. Number two, when you try to bring in investors, if you pitch to 100 investors, then out of those 100, only five will show interest. And out of those five, only one might invest in you. So it's not that easy, number one. Number two, if you bring in early investors, then you lose a lot of equity. If you lose a lot of equity, you lose a lot of power. And like I said, you cannot just bring in investors for money. You have to be very smart about it as what kind of investors you want to bring. So the perfect stage where you want to bring in investors is when you are planning to grow. Now you've been in market for suppose say 3 months. You had steady traction. You are growing at a steady pace. Now you want to scale up. When you want to scale up, that is the time when you bring in investors, because that is the time when you need money. Before that, there is no point on sitting on a lot of cash, because you make bad decisions when you have a lot of cash.
Right. Thank you so much, Subhash, for those last few nuggets. And thank you again, Parag sir and Girish sir, for giving your insights on our questions. And again, as I said, for any other questions that you guys have, do reach out to any of these panelists, and I'm sure they will help you out. And yes, over to Cyril for the closing notes.
So we have put up the feedback link on the chat box. So please do give us your valuable feedback. I'm Cyril Varghese, the alumni head of Students Alumni Committee. It is my honor to now deliver the vote of thanks for conducting our event. It was a great pleasure to hear all the opinions and thoughts put forth by our panelists today. For this, we would like to thank our wonderful panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to guide and motivate us on what to do and how to go about our startup journey. We are really grateful for that. And also Ms. Saili for moderating our event so gracefully and engaging everyone throughout her moderation. Thanks a lot. I would further like to thank the Alumni Association of FRCRC, including our dynamic faculty members and various alums who helped make this event possible. And of course, our keen and energetic audience who not only gained a lot of knowledge but also contributed to this discussion through their enlightening questions. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my colleagues at the Student Alumni Committee with whom it would not have been possible to coordinate and manage this event. Finally, a big thank you to all of you present here. And I hope that, like me, you too have more clarity and gained more knowledge regarding startups. Do follow us on our social media accounts on Alma Connect, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. The links for which are available in chat box. Thank you once again.